Hello, good morning, and good afternoon. I look like I have antlers coming on my head. Hey guys, welcome to sunny Palm Beach. My name's Leah Cook with Sandpaper and Wax Design. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And I'm gonna hold on one second, but I know this is recording, so I will actually keep going. Today, we are going to talk about painting patio upholstery and pillows and furniture. I particularly did a rattan wicker piece. Oh, we got some eyes. Awesome. I'm so glad you can join me. Okay, so I'm gonna show you the before of this chair, and it is horrendous. Ready? That is your before picture of this blessed chair. It's actually a lot better because in this picture I had already washed it and it looked like someone had an accident. But it's a great chair, and I got it from Habitat and Humanity, and it was a great deal. So um, yeah, you can. Upholstery is expensive. You know, my upholsterer just left, and I think I had to sell one of my kidneys to pay him. But it's expensive, and so if you have a piece that has good bones, but if the fabric is destroyed or the sun has faded it, but it's still usable, then by all means save the planet one piece at a time. So today we're going to talk about what I did, and I'll show you in a second. Today we worked with you can barely see it. It is Amy Howard's 1 hour enamel paint, and I sprayed it on the rattan wicker chair. So for those kind of pieces, I do recommend spraying and then just doing touch up with an artist brush. And then for our colors, we did credenza, which is this really pretty blue green color. And sorry about that. And we also did Weybridge white. Okay, so we're going to talk about the process, and I want to kind of talk about the difference between doing like drapes, like dyeing drapes, versus doing outdoor, more performance, the difference. So you guys know me, science is behind everything. So it's a little bit different than typically just dyeing, like a dye, which has been around forever. So if you think painting fabric is horrendous and too highbrow, too lowbrow for you, painting fabric has been around for thousands of years, from originating in India and China, to where they would dye fabric in vats and then use to make patterns, block printing. So it's been around forever. So don't throw an old method out just because you're painting a fabric. It's actually, it's good for the environment. We're not just discarding being a fast culture. So a little bit different. The reason what we do use that is the difference when we do outdoor fabric. I know some of you guys are like, fabric softener, it's the devil. It isn't great, but it's in performance fabrics. And there's a reason that there is a element of fabric softener in performance fabrics or outdoor fabrics specifically, because it's a cationic surfactant in fabric softener. So what that means is there's a hydrophilic, which means loves water, and there's a hydrophobic element of fabric softener. And you guys know those two things repel each other. So how it works is there's a positively charged ion in this and so a cationic releases the surface tension in a liquid and a solid state. So it allows the blend. And so by doing that, the positively charged ion in the fabric softener with the negatively charged component in the fabric, they attract each other. And so that is how you get that's how you get soft fabric. It's more flexible, and that's going to make that paint more flexible. So it's not going to be crunchy. And now I'm going to really show you the science in person to understand why we use fabric softener when doing outdoor fabrics specifically. When you do indoors, it's more just watering down, it's more of a dye. But this is, we want this to last so it doesn't crack, so it doesn't fade. And fabric softener actually helps aid in that. So before we get any further, I will show you what I did. I'm gonna take you over here. This is my Palm Beach style chair. The poo chair is now beautiful, and it is I love it. And this over here, this cute little table you guys can see. Yeah, totally saved. And these chairs retail for, were painted for around $800 when sold locally here the other day. So really cool if you guys can find some really affordable sets at Habitat or Facebook. These are, and they look great on your porch. They're really pretty, and there's so many different options of how to do it. And we're going to talk about that. So as far as the enamel paint, if you are going to spray this paint, you want to, it says a pint for, what was it, a pint for a gallon. It works out to be 4 ounces per quart. So I did the math for you. You do need to thin it a little bit if you're going to put it into your sprayer. And I do recommend 2 to 3 coats if you're going to be spraying, especially if it's a light color. I would definitely, and you don't need to prime. For rattan, I do recommend really cleaning with Amy Howard's Clean Slate, because you want to get all that grease off and any dirt, especially because it's been outside, and then go ahead and we'll use your sprayer. But today is really not about this 1 hour enamel. It's fantastic. It's durable. It's going to last outside. I painted my exterior door with this paint and sold my house, and it's still on there. So yeah, good paint. So, but we're going to talk about fabrics now. I am going to show you. So here is the side I did. And I kid you not, had a giant looking poo stain on it. I think it was like just somebody with a very dirty hiney, like my child probably sat in it and smudged it around. But what I did, and what you're going to do before you start doing your piece, if you can, take off the cover, wash it in the washing machine. Try to get all the dirt, any grease and oils off before you start to paint. Because once you start doing that, that stuff is in your fabric forever. So I didn't even need to prime to hide that stain. So, and this is where I'm at. This is the bad side. This was really bad. So what I did do on this side, so we can do it together, I just did 1 coat. And we're going to talk about mixing it up, and we'll do it together. Okay, so for this paint, you need, it's a 1 to 1 to 1 part paint, 1 part water, or 2 parts paint, 1 part water, 1 part fabric softener. And again, that when you add it to your paint, that what do you call it? The it will get thicker. You'll see a change in viscosity, and that's okay. Don't get freaked out by that. It will thicken the paint. It's very much like making slime. And it gets a little bit thicker. It rises up. Here, I can show you what it looks like. And it's initially, let it sit for a second and it will thin out. But as you can see, it does thicken up a little bit. So what that's doing, it's going to increase the softness of the fabric and the ability to resist cracking, which is pretty awesome. So, all right, I'm gonna turn you down, and then we're gonna get started on how to mix, and then we'll do it. All right, so we're gonna get set up. Sorry, don't mean to make you sick. Ah! All right, so I'm gonna open a brand new can. Can you see me? Here we go. Okay, we'll just do this part first since I have everything open. So remember, it's one part fabric softener. And I don't use fabric softener. I will give a disclaimer, fabric softener isn't good for children's clothing. You shouldn't put it on already pre-existing performance wear. Again, this is for outside. So don't use fabric softener for your, I don't recommend it for inside. Because especially if anybody has asthma, but outdoor fabrics, absolutely. All right, that are going to be up against wear and tear, the sunshine, the weather, you know, that's a little, oof, we need to mix it. All right. All my spoons, there we are. Okay, we're going to stir that up. As you can see, you really have to make sure you stir your paint, especially if it's a new can. Hopefully that's, so we're using that one step. Now I will caution, if you are mixing white with this fabric softener, it has a blue hue to it. It can slightly change your color. They do make some that don't have any colorant in it. You could get the free and clear one. It's still a cationic quad like material, so that's what we're looking for, is that the repelling, and for it to be hydrophobic, because hydrophobic repels water. So that's great for outdoor and performance wear. So here we are. We're going to do, it's 2 parts paint. So we did 1 and 1, and we'll do 1 more. All right. And I really wanted you guys to see it being mixed up, because it might cause some of you to panic when you see it, because initially it's like, ah. Okay, here we go. And so see how it doesn't look, because of the elements in this, it doesn't exactly want to blend immediately, but it will. And look, do you see what's happening with the paint? You see how it's starting to fluff? Remember, that's okay. We're going to let it sit for a few minutes, and it will return back to its normal state. And if we need to, add some more water. Remember, you don't want a very thick paint. And see how that thickened up so fast. Let's let that sit for a second, because it will return to a more fluid state. All right, and we'll come back to that one. Cruising. So when you are doing light colors, just be mindful of the color of your fabric softener. We want it more liquid. You don't want it so thick. If it's too thick and you paint it on too thick, you're going to end up with really crunchy fabric, and that's not what we're going for. You want a more soft, pliable. So less is more, just like when you paint your furniture. You don't want super thick. All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to go to that pillow. I'm going to turn you up just a tiny bit so I have the pillow in the shot. And I would, it's already starting to loosen up a bit. I would add just a tiny bit more water. Water is better. If you want it more watery than thick. And see, look how fast that's starting to happen too now. I only added maybe a tablespoon. So we're already starting to really thin it out here. Okay, and now we're going to go to that pillow. When you do interior fabrics and you're doing more of a bath or a dye, it's obviously way more water. You're going to do at least 2 to 3 parts water. Here, we're doing more color fast. All right, I'm going to raise you up. I'm going to have to put you up here, guys. Really high. I can't, it won't go high enough. I didn't practice this. Sorry if I'm making anybody sick. Happy Friday. All right. Got you up here. Excellent. Good. Okay, so this is 1-1, and it's actually still really soft. It was a very canvas style feel. So it has a little bit of texture. And my concern was, I was like, oh, this already has a pattern. Is this even possible? And absolutely. So I came up with the cabana stripes, going over the palm trees, and then leaving this here in a white, so that it almost left like a, I forget what the word is called. I know there is a word for it, but the strip had like very faint palm trees. Oh, I got white on it. Yikes. Sorry. but you could see like little palm trees still in it. So we're gonna do this side. So you want it, you don't necessarily, you know, the lighter the better applications. The thicker you start going, um, you really could start running into cracking and too thick. So keeping it nice and light. You're gonna take your paint, and you know, some fabrics you want to go with the if there's already an existing pattern, but otherwise you could do a cross stitch like this, cross hatching, and then brushing it out. And so as you get to each layer, I would recommend maybe adding a little bit more water as you go to your paint, because we're already having enough coverage. For light colors, I would say around, especially if you're going over a darker fabric. Ooh, I have color in that brush. If you're going over a darker fabric, you want to go a couple more colors if you're going light. And if you're for darker fabrics, I'm going to show you what one coat already looks like so you guys can see. And then let that dry. You're going to let that dry. You're going to come back with a 220 grit sandpaper just to kind of bring down the edge on it. And so I didn't paint down here, so we'll show you. You're just going to gently sand it out. If you start to think that some area, like right here, maybe I got too thick or is there not enough water in my mixture, it's just gently sanding that down, bringing down the edge, and then and then make sure you get all the dust off. Use a tack cloth to bring down any, you want to make sure we're not cracked. All right, and just like that, just very simple, and it's surprisingly so soft, so soft. So I'm going to show you a dark color just so you can see the difference. I went ahead and mixed, bright, right? I mixed Massey Hill with Frankly Scarlet and got this really pretty coral. This is only one coat of color. So if you wanted, I would recommend, unless you're looking for more of a faded look, I would recommend doing another coat. And I would say 2 coats for this would be plenty. So just nice and easy. And you're gonna go. So if you're doing a chair that is completely upholstered, I would work in sections. Don't just go all over the place, work in sections, really focusing in on the piping. Work on one side at a time, allow it to dry. And for dry times, because you're going to sand, especially if you're sanding, you need to give it at least 6 to 8 hours of dry. You know, you can set it outside in this, you know, the temperatures, humidity, heat, whatever, and let that dry. But really wanting to, at least to the touch, be able for it to be dry enough that you can sand it. Because if you're going to sand it wet, you're going to end up with a big mess. So just nice. And you know what? I was such I'm like, why would I paint fabric? Well, I just paid $1,100 for a chair to be reupholstered. So, I mean, I love my fabric guy. He's super amazing. But for my house, and especially with my kids pretty much ruining everything, I just can't. And the furniture itself is in great condition, and it's just a waste to really not be able to repair it myself. And you end up with a really beautiful product. Now you can make this a leathery feel if you like. And by doing that, you don't really have to sand, but you're going to apply considerably, if you're going to really wax it, and then buff it if you wanted more of a suede or a leather look. So just really easy. What is in my brush? There. So that's right here. If you guys can see, that's 2 coats. That's absolutely plenty. So I wouldn't do any more than that. Again, letting it dry for 6 to 8 hours. Now, if you wanted you could also do those cabana stripes too. And there's a reason why I'm saying wait so long, especially if you're going to be putting any kind of, look how soft that is. Oh my goodness. If you're going to be putting any kind of stripes or any kind of pattern, Amy has some great mesh stencils that you can put on these chairs. Like how pretty would that be? Or something like the birds would be a fun one. And then doing it like in a pretty yellow. How pretty with her yellow, something like that. And these, we don't have to do anything to. They're already made for fabric. So just when you're done, we'll seal it with that wax. And I'll show you how to do that in a sec. But if you wanted to do cabana stripes, there's all different types of, you can use regular masking tape. You don't have to use painter's tape because it won't rip like it does on furniture. It won't take off the finish, but you must let it dry because otherwise this tape, it's not going to stick. So go ahead and let it come down, let it dry, and then you'll be able to put your tape on to mark out. See, that sticks over there, but this won't stick while it's still drying. So you can measure out all your stripes ahead of time using a straight edge. Use a carpenter square or whatever you need, and just go ahead and gauge out. You know, you might have to pre-plan it. If you want to do a 2-inch cabana stripe, you could do one racing stripe down the middle, like very retro California kind of deal. Would be really pretty with like some orange and blue on this. Would look really cool if you're looking for more retro mid-century. But so different options, and using the gel inks, I really do. You can still use the other paints, but she's got so many different colors and it's already fabric ready. You don't have to add anything else. And then come back and we'll seal this one pillow. So I recommend using a round brush for this instance, using her round brush. You're going to use Mind Your Own Beeswax. Do not coat this with wax. Don't do it because then you're really going to end up with a very stiff piece and it's not going to be, and there's a chance for it to crack too much if you're adding too much wax to it. So definitely, oh gosh, everything's new. Ah, I didn't want you to see my grody old ones. I got some new stuff here. So we're just going to go over it with some wax. And we're going to absolutely been working on a lot of wood lately. So much wood in the shop. Offload and then just gently, easily going over your piece or your bolster or whatever you're using. And just gentle, nothing crazy. And then when it comes to tack, you'll feel that. You'll buff it with a cloth. And now it's resistant to stains, your kids' food spilling all over it. You can wipe it down. You can get water on it. So that fabric softener acts as a performance, almost like a performance fabric deal. And then I did do a pillow for you guys to see. So this is white with just one coat. And as you can see, you can still see your pattern underneath. And this is very dark, very, very yellow. So I do want you to keep in mind too, if you're going over something with a pre-existing pattern, if you're going light, you're going to have to do a couple of coats, okay? Because we're still seeing this come through. So we'll go ahead and do a white and see how it goes. See if we can get it to come back down. 1 second. All right. And you know what? We'll use our new white. So it really did mix that. This is the white we did earlier. Oh, and this is really important, guys. I did not mention this. While you are putting this on, after it's already been cleaned and you are painting, I would spray. So go ahead and spray. Gently mist it. You don't want it soaking. You don't want to go through the fabric, but you do want a little bit of a mist on it. So definitely misting your fabric. But then you're going to go over it. See how more runny it is? Yeah, this is much better. Just gently going over. We don't want a ton. Just like that. Make sure that your brushes, see, I keep my brushes in a water bucket as I work. That way my brush is wet. I'm working with an already wet surface. All right. Because if you just apply it dry, it will be very, see the water when you spritz it on and then you apply your mixture, it helps the paint mixture actually absorb into the fabric. So by spraying with water will really help adhesion properties. Okay. And so that's your second coat. As it dries, it will become more opaque. And for something like this, I highly recommend you do an all over pattern. I would recommend something because now it's completely obscured anyway. And so now you'll end up with your beautiful pattern on top. So, if it's a heavily patterned material, if it's dark, you want to take all those things into consideration. And then also considering that there's dye in the fabric softener that could change the color of your paint. So I hope this has helped. We're going to come back over here and take a look at the chair. So this was all done with the 1 hour enamel, all sprayed. I did come back through with a small paintbrush and just touch up. And I really love how this little table came out. It was headed for the trash bin. And especially that chair, it was headed for the trash bin. So I hope you learned something new today. Thank you for joining me. If you have any questions, let me know. I would love to answer them. And then maybe we'll do some drapes soon. That'd be fun. So thanks for tuning in. Take care now, guys. Bye.